Hello, everyone. Once again, we welcome you all to another episode of Shillong Reading Room. And today we have a slightly different format. We have two authors instead of the usual one. And the name of the book is Our Very Own Hill State. And our authors are Badapbiang and Miani Shira, who both co-authored this book. And we're going to learn a little bit about how this book came about. This is the book. It's a children's book. Again, slightly unusual for us, but it's something that has piqued our interest. So we hope that you also can get something out of this book, and perhaps you can go and get it also from the shops. We begin. Thank you. So, hello, both of you.
Hello.
Hi. So, what we want to know a little bit is perhaps you could introduce yourselves also, just a little bit, and how you came about to doing this book together. Who wants to start?
I'm Miani D. Shira. So I'm an MLA currently. So most people must be knowing me, but of course, this is a completely new thing for me as well. And I'm so glad that I could do it together with a dear friend of mine. So I think you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Badapbiang Dkhar, and I come from Malki, and I'm a researcher and a lawyer. And we came about writing this book. It was out of pure chance, meeting each other after a really long time in Delhi and discussing motherhood. And that's how this conversation about our very own hill state came to be. It was just organic. We never planned for it.
So, somewhere you've mentioned that, this came about as during COVID, was it? Like during the lockdown, that's when you first started talking about doing this book. And then you mentioned there's now motherhood as well. Like, why did you choose this topic though? Like, it's a very unmotherhood related, topic.
So basically, we were classmates, right? So we haven't really been in touch. We were just, I think, through social media and, a little bit of chit-chatting over the comments and little messaging and all that. Other than that, we never met, I think, after school. But during COVID, I think we were really interacting about the things that we were doing. I think we were very excited and happy for each other about the, things that we were doing career-wise and all of that. And we were just talking, and then somehow we were like, why don't we do something together, But then because of COVID and all of that, of course, nothing materialized. But right after COVID, both of us somehow got pregnant during the same time. And then, of course, before I joined politics, I was involved with, kindergarten school. I had started a kindergarten school. So I was telling her also that I wanted to start, writing a little bit for kids as well. So that's when we struck this conversation about a children's book.
Yes.
Yeah.
We spoke about that, and then it was during January when we met each other, right after COVID. We met in Delhi, and it was during the time when, we were going to celebrate our statehood day. So that's how it came about, so it was very organic. We never planned. Okay, of course, we did plan saying that we'll work together and we'll write children's books for our children, because we don't see, much representation in the shops, in places regarding, people who look like us or whose names are like us, right? So it was because we met in Delhi, and it was around that time we're like, hey, we said we were going to work on something together. And since statehood day is around the corner, why don't we do this? And that's how this book came to be.
Interesting. So it was more like you were figuring it along the way, and then fortuitously happened.
Yes.
So, so both of you are from two major tribes, right? You're from Garo Hills, you're from Khasi Hills. So how Why do you think this was so important? Like, I know you've mentioned a little bit, but perhaps you could go more into detail about that. Like, why did you think this was an urgent task, And because there are three languages in this book, right? English, Garo, and Khasi. So, how did that come about? And also, why did you think that that was something that you wanted to?
Yes, so I identify myself as a Khasi Panar person because I cannot reject my roots from the Panar side, and certainly I cannot reject my roots saying that I'm just one monolith, right? So there were a lot of things that were happening, where reading the news, looking at things that were going on, and there were very many unkind things that were being said amongst the different tribes. So, Miani and I just felt that, we need some kind of solidarity amongst the tribes to remind each other that, we came, our statehood came to be because we decided to, walk shoulder to shoulder together. We did not fight shoulder to shoulder, but we stood alongside each other in order to get, the state of Meghalaya. So just to be a reminder, so that to remind our children to be kind and to remember that this is our shared home. So it came from that perspective.
Yeah, just to add a little bit to that as well. When I was working with children in the school, I realized that we don't really have any literature with Garo and Khasi language together. And of course, it is impossible for us to understand one another if we don't start somewhere, right? So therefore, we were thinking that, we have to have something to begin with, that can bring these two languages together in one book. So that was what we thought, and that was what we wanted to achieve.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I think it's something that's very needed action nowadays. There's so much confusion and division also. So it's a very interesting thing, because what you mentioned as well, like that it was a shared struggle. I think it was across. Obviously, it was beyond what is now Meghalaya, but then it was a shared struggle.
Yeah.
This whole thing, how did you? What was your research process like? And how did you distill all that? Because this is a very long
It is.
struggle, right? It's a very long struggle. You've mentioned JJ Abdika's Roy here as well. He's one of the people. There were other people as well from all parts of the Northeast as well, who all contributed little bit. And so that is that is something that I feel like is very complex and long. How did you make it simpler? Why did you decide to make it in this way?
When we started off, first we, kind of decided how much we will write, both of us, right? So then after that, that was the biggest challenge. What do we put in the book? Now, because it was a children's book, we wanted to make it as simple as possible. There are so many, historical writings, and also I've had the privilege of interacting with people who had first-hand experiences. So to compress all of that into, a couple of chapters, and just, if you look at the chapters, it's just, 2-page or 3-page chapters. So, it was a huge challenge. And if we look at the history, we have so many trajectories, but I think for me, when I wrote it, I was quite dissatisfied with myself, because when you know so much, you're always like wanting to go in and put more things. But later I realized the lesser we put in, the clearer the picture was for the kids, because it was meant for children, right? So I think for more details, they can always grow up and do their own research and go in depth. So that was what I felt while writing this. So it was challenging, no doubt. Yeah.
we wanted this book to be like a teaser, to something bigger, that because I'm very certain that you and all of us here in this room would have never read about the Hill State in school. But I remember, like, my father would always tell me these stories about Hill State, and we have like pamphlets, old newspapers. I just thought of my father as a hoarder, I'll be honest, because even in my home we're bombarded with so much of literature. I didn't understand then, but now that he's no longer here, so I became more curious. And why is this book, mainly focusing on common people? It was because of one of my neighbors. He was very much involved in the Hill State movement, and his name is Gregory Karmalki. So he's also a professor at Assumption University. And so I met, such our elders talking about the Hill State, but from the perspective of common people, and then my mother would also say, oh yeah, I remember I was still a young child, and, our parents would pack lunch. So we wanted to focus also, like, it's something that is not very gendered, that only men or women did this, but it was a very collective, collective memory. So just like Miani, where she met a lot of people who were involved, from a different lens, but for me it was from a different lens, the people around my neighborhood. And then how there's some people who everyone now claims to be, a part of the Hill State, but who really was a part of the Hill State? It's not just, great men. Mainly we focus only on men's history. So it came from, from that perspective, a talk with a neighbor, a talk with, say, like, I remembered I had talks with my grandmother and my father who used to tell me these stories. So, adding up all those collective memory of what they did and how they, made lunch together and hung out with their friends to go to the Assam Secretariat. So for me, it began from that perspective that, many times you always think about these, the creation of the state through, the lens of, great people. But, if we're not a collective, then how can we change things, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's why we tried to not take too many names of our leaders as well, because we wanted it to be more people-centric, that it was the people who came together. The leaders were there, yes, not to take away from our great leaders, but it was more of a people's movement. And without the people's movement, the leaders would not have the power to negotiate or to work towards building this state, right?
Yes.
So that's why we have, we tried not to take too many names. That's because we wanted to focus on the people of the state.
Yes, I actually noticed that very clearly in the book, because there's just a few mentions.
Yeah.
Williamson Sangma, and it just kind of is, which now I understand the rationale behind it. Maybe you could go a little bit more about these common people's stories, because this is very interesting. Like I found that very interesting. Like, what were your encounters? Maybe you could add a little bit more if you have.
Yeah, so I'll just read from a page, okay? And this was the story that, one of our elders told us, and that's how, I fashioned it that way regarding the beating of the drums. Because the drums seemed to be very important in the Hill State movement when they were shouting, "No Hill State, no rest." And so, they kept playing the drums when that slogan was being, let's say, when they were chanting that slogan. And also because, there were many creative people that were involved. To come up with these slogans. I'm still trying to find out who is that person who came up with the slogan. So I'm still doing my research. And it was through music as well. I found pamphlets at home in which my father had kept from, the 1960s regarding a play that was happening in the Khasi National Darbar or something. There were street plays as well. And there were pamphlets like that. That creative people were making music. They were making songs about, this envisioning the Hill State movement. So I learned that, of course, not directly through my father's voice, but through the things that I thought he was hoarding, but to be such valuable resources, to realize that, okay, it was a creative process as well, common people making music. And many people know, Malki as as a hub of music. There's so many great musicians coming out from there. And, music is from a working class community, and, music being a central part of it. So I thought, yes, why not add the drums? So here, if I may read. Okay, so sorry, I have a little cough. Elders from just a generation past recount how every tribal household in the mid-1950s and 60s stood on the streets with the beating of the drums going thump, thump, thump amidst their collective cries of solidarity. While the young stood guard, mothers and fathers prepared food for the youth that were out protesting. Artists, with their creative genius, also composed songs and plays that spoke to the feeling of tribal solidarity, ringing out the slogan, "No hill state, no rest." So, this story, it did not come out from, one researching and reading a book, but it came about from the stories that were told to me by our elders in Malki. So, yeah.
And what were your experiences in?
See, growing up, I come from a political background, so I came like all these stories were just it was a natural kind of stories growing up, for me, I didn't realize, it was just an assumption by me that maybe everyone knew of the stories. So when I started interacting with my peers, with my friends, I realized that a lot of people, just took all of these stories for granted. They didn't really, maybe they heard it, but it never really went inside their hearts or their minds. It did not really stick to them. So when we were discussing this, I realized that only the generation past, one generation from us, they were still so passionate about it, and they would continue to talk about it. People of my parents' generation, my grandparents' generation, they would, whenever they would visit our house, they would go on and on and on talking about all these stories, how they participated and all of that. But when I tried to understand more about how somehow the present generation are not understanding the historical point of view about how important it was for them, was because I think in their families or in their households, they didn't really talk about it anymore, I think the people who were still thinking about those days would talk about it more with people who are interested. So I think that interest was lacking. So that's when I realized that a lot of these families, they still have it within their families, all of these stories, but it's just that we are so busy in our own worlds that we don't give time for one another. So when they visit our family, or people who are involved in all of these movements together, then they start talking, they're nostalgic about it. So just that little time. But I realized that in the past 5 years, like during COVID and after COVID, a lot of our older generations, we've lost them, So it was very unfortunate. But that's why I always encourage the young ones to, listen to all of the stories of the older generations. It's always good, and it's really, really, I think it's emotional for me when I talk to all of them who have been involved with all of these activities, that we take it for granted, all of these. So these are the interactions that I've had personally, and for her also. So yeah.
So there's obviously right now we're talking about Khasi, Garo's involvement and other like this is what is Meghalaya now, right? And but APHLC now exists as a party. I don't know if it's still the same one, but most probably it is. But it still exists as a party in Karviano, right?
Yeah.
So that shows that perhaps this was beyond the borders of
Yes.
Meghalaya. Right? Like, so how in this book, like it's like perhaps one slight issue might be that okay, as it is now, it is specifically about Meghalaya, right? But it was across the state, across the northeast, you could say. So how do you how do you plan to, let's say, involve the other communities as well? And many people have also said non-tribals are also part of it because
Yes.
they also wanted their own state, right? So is there some danger perhaps of being too exclusively, major tribe oriented or whatever? What are your thoughts on that?
No, we did think about this a lot because obviously there were other tribes that were there also. So if you were to read the introduction, where we said that, did you know that you are of the Hinyotrep people, Khasi Jaintia, of the Garo people, and of everyone in between. So this word "and of everyone in between" was purposely put there, and we wanted to make it simple because it was for children, because talking about multiple identities would be very difficult for young children to grasp, so but this is for our own peace, for Mianis and I, because we know that there are minority tribes also in Meghalaya, whether you have Chakma, whether you have Hajong, who are recognized as minority tribes here and who have rights and special representation within our state. So it is something that we negotiated a lot, and so we decided to keep these lines in order to make it open-ended. Of course, I understand that you have the Tiwas, the Karbis, who were also there, and historically speaking, going back, where all the leaders met in Aizawl, there were many things that that led to the Hill State movement, but we could not add all of that. And why we're focusing on the Khasi, Jaintia, Garo communities, because we come from these communities and we wanted to represent our community. Many a times you will find, people always writing about their own communities. So why not have this tribal voice of representing ourselves first? How can we represent other people when there's no representation of who we are? So, so that's why we consciously did it in this way, and we just added that line, and to ensure that it would be more palatable to children. We did not use words that were too simple also, because as an educator, I believe that children should be challenged so that they if they don't open the dictionary, they can Google search what maybe colonization means, or what maybe other complicated words that are used in Khasi as well. But that was consciously done to challenge young children, young readers to go and research. And also because we belong to the Khasi, Jaintia, Garo tribe, so we wanted representation from our own personal identity first.
Yeah.
So it came from that.
Yeah. So basically, we wanted to tell a simple story of how our state of Meghalaya was formed. Now, when this movement first started, of course, a lot of other tribes were also in talks, were also together, and a lot of things transpired on the way, right? So we cannot put all of that in this simple story of our state. So that's what I said. It was very difficult for us to compress all of it and, put it into a couple of chapters. But having said that, what she read from the book, Everyone in Between, I think it's very important for us who are currently living in Meghalaya as Meghalayans to understand that it was not just the Hinyotrep people and the Garo people, but also other people who were fighting alongside us, shoulder to shoulder, who were supporting us, maybe in the background, maybe in the front, there are a lot of stories and a lot of historical evidence as well. So that we have to understand. So having said that, there's so many things which went on, right? But this is just a simple story of how we got our state of Meghalaya.
That's just a teaser.
Yeah, it's just a teaser,
that-
just to scratch the minds of the young ones, you know, so that they will be a little bit more interested and want to go on and maybe research a little bit more. So
did you, when you were, so I'm assuming that first and foremost, you came up first with the English
Yes.
yes, of course,
version,
of course.
and then you had it, you translated it. And did you find any nuances while translating? What was the experience like? Because you just mentioned the word just now, colonization. I mean, how do you translate that to Khasi?
Very difficult.
It's very difficult. You know, you'd have to really draw out so much. So what were the the hiccups, the issues, the nuances that came up when you were trying to get this story translated?
Shall I answer?
Yeah,
that?
of course.
Okay. Oh,
You can answer.
Okay. So it was very difficult for us to search for people who would translate. So there are two people who translated the work. Since this is I forgot to add that also this is the first trilingual book in Meghalaya where all 3 languages is in one book. So we have this one translator, Dr. Dondor Giri Nongkhlaw, who is an avid Khasi writer. And Cheatchi Norah Momin, she has also translated a lot of these government documents. Yeah. So she's very much involved. So, it just, so we thought, why not? Like, through friends. Like, we were actually connected to Nora through Jemima. And Dr. Dondor Giri, I was connected through my husband because he's my husband's uncle. And he writes a lot of Khasi books. And so we thought, why don't we give this to the experts and let them write? And we gave them complete freedom to write and not to dictate the terms, because sometimes literal translation is very dangerous
sense,
and it doesn't reflect exactly what the story is about. So we told both of them that it's best to contextualize and to understand. And this is the feeling and this is the direction we're going into. So kindly incorporate that. But you have a free hand to translate as per your understanding, keeping in mind, children. So that's how, that's how we spoke to the people who translated this, and not to make it a literal translation. Otherwise, it'll be chaotic. Because even if you read the Khasi and the English version or Garo version line by line with the English, it's not how we say, like, in millennial lingo, ditto, the same. So, there were a lot of challenges. Like, you don't have direct translations of, like the word colonization and things like, saying the word matrilineal, So, yeah, but I think they did a wonderful job to make it as, using the language that can be understood by everyone, but at the same time also challenging young people to also read Khasi and Garo, the way it should be read.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have, many times we have Galish or Khalish, mixing Khasi and English, Garo and English. So, but here, we really wanted that kind of translation where, to challenge the young people and to challenge ourselves also, because there are many words that even we did not know.
Yeah.
Like if you say, if I ask you right now, what is the literal translation of culture? So what would you say, Avana? Like, what is the literal translation?
Whatever. But then again, it's not exactly.
It's not literal. Yeah.
So what I've learned through Dr. Dondor Giri, that culture, the direct translation is kadei riti. Dustu riti is another word, another meaning, but kadei riti is culture, and it's not culture. Many times you'll find in these pamphlets.
Yeah.
So it's very important. So that's why, we wanted people like Dr. Dondor Giri and Nora to, to translate, because they know the root words.
Yeah.
And through their translations also, I think it's the same for Miani.
Yeah.
We learned a lot about our own language as well. And, like just giving you that simple example of Kadeiriti. So that was, it was such a wonderful creative process learning this way.
So I think the reason why we didn't want to translate it ourselves was because of this very reason, right? Because it can be a little complicated. And we didn't want to butcher anything. We wanted the spirit of the book to be true. And therefore, we thought that we'll engage all of the experts in translating that. So with due respect to all of the languages, I think it's best left to the experts. So
Yeah, it's come up well. It's it flows,
Yeah.
which is nice. This book could also be called No Hill Seen No Rest. Because that's the whole. It's such a powerful slogan, right?
Yeah.
And people have adapted it over the years for
Yes.
their own ends, nefarious or otherwise. And so, what do you think? What do you hope that children who read this take back from that slogan? No hill state, no rest. Like, what does that? What do you hope is inspired in these children?
I hope it instills a sense of unity and strength, because the hill state was not just for one tribe or for one person or for one community. It was for everyone, all of us together. So I hope it brings that sense of unity and strength for the young minds. I hope it creates an itch. I hope they want to know more, because I really hope that in the near future, in the coming years, that people don't forget our roots and how we got this beautiful state. So that's what I want to achieve from this book.
So for me, I would say, the slogan, no hill state, no rest, is so powerful because it speaks of resilience. Even though we may be a minority in this great landscape of India, but because our forefathers, our mothers were so resilient that they did not stop believing in something and they kept working towards it. And, to tell the young generation that together, if we stand united, there are many things that we can do for our, beloved homeland, for our state, where we didn't get it so easily. So it's a reminder, and to have that resilient spirit of never giving up, and to stand strong together despite all the divisiveness that's there surrounding our, the let's say the political climate that's there right now. So just to remind them, stay resilient, don't give up, speak your truth. So from that perspective.
So what do you hope this book becomes? What is its legacy? Do you hope that perhaps it gets taken up as a resource as well in schools, or in, as a teaching material? What do you have? Do you have any thoughts?
I think when we started off, we didn't really have much expectations. I mean, we came into this project thinking that we wanted to bring in something new. So I think the reception that we got has been very positive. So I mean, from all of the feedbacks and the reviews that we've gotten, I think maybe in the future it can be something more than what we expected it to be. So let's see where it takes us, where this book goes. I don't know. Maybe it will go further than what we expected. So let's hope for the best.
Yeah, well, the hope is that, yes, we do hope that, okay, I can say for myself, I do hope that this book gets taken up in schools. And if it does, then we are ready also to edit and to add more nuance and to add more of the important information, especially to talk about it in a more chronological way. But as it is for today, like I said, it's a teaser, but coming from the lens of, running the Kyrshan Foundation, where Miani has, supported our foundation to produce this book, then we do hope to, build it up more so that it can be used in schools with more nuance and contextual understanding. Because if we do not teach it in school now, then this is just going to be a fancy book for, this year, and then what about the next year? So we do hope it gets taken up in school. I'm being very honest and direct, and that is the hope. Yeah, so that we do not forget.
I think we are very hopeful now, because initially we had no ambition as such. But once this book came out, I think with the reception and with the kind of interactions that we've had with people, I think it's very positive, and we're hopeful that we can bring it to school for the children, because it's a very simple read, and a simple history book sort of for the kids. So let's hope for the best, and we are working on editing it and making it a better read.
What type of support, like, did you receive any sort of support from the government, let's say, or from any institutions, or was it completely self-driven, self-funded, self-supported?
It was not funded by anybody.
Yeah.
It was our own thing.
Passion.
So, yeah.
Yeah. We did not take any government funding or anything. It was just out of passion.
Yeah.
Two mothers coming together because, we wanted first for our children, and then, the entire next generation to remember our history. So this was a work of passion, I will say. Yeah.
So the final question: what do you hope? What are you planning next? Do you have any other plans for this? You said editing, you are perhaps refining it further, but beyond that, because there's still a lot. Like, as you said, it's a teaser. So what else do you have planned? Maybe you could share a little bit about your plans.
Well, we don't have any commitments as such, because, as you know, we're both busy working mothers, but we don't write off anything that we may come up in the future. But we don't really have any commitment to a new project as of now. So let's see. In the future, if we can collaborate again.
But Kong Patricia, when she had said that, it'll be very nice if you can come up with a version for, adults and just young readers.
Yes, of course.
We'll never say never.
Yeah, so definitely.
Even in our own private spaces, we are researching, we are reading, so you may never know what will come up after this. So
definitely.
Okay, so I think that's the end of our little interaction. Thank you so much. Once again, I would like to thank everyone who's been part of this journey of ours today, like this episode. This program has been made possible because of the wonderful, wonderful courtesy and always welcoming spirit that Kong Farida Nambedbi Woods Sharilung has offered us, and I hope that everyone goes and gets a copy of this book, because it's very interesting. It's something that I think is very important. It's crucial right now. Everyone should read their history and keep reading. We need more stuff like this in children's literature, because so many of our children are now becoming enamored with other things. I think this will give them a good anchor. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.